A lot of you guys have been asking us to talk more about editing, so today that is exactly what we're gonna do. Here at our production company, we produce and edit everything from commercials, music videos, YouTube videos, infomercials, and pretty much anything in between. So today I'm going to take you through the process of how we do that, give you all my best tips and tricks, and to do so, I'm gonna show you how we edited this commercial.
The conditions here are rough. But along the Norwegian coast, off the island of Frøya, lies hidden opportunities.
But Juni Marie, this topic is quite huge.
It is. There's a lot of videos about the technical side of editing and how to do J-cuts and L-cuts and the technical stuff.
What's that? J-cuts?
You know when you let the video roll longer than the sound?
Okay, I haven't heard about that.
Maybe that's what I should talk about then. I try to give you guys tips and advice that you can use for many different types of projects and that you can kind of apply no matter what type of project you're editing. And advice that I think I would have liked to known even earlier.
I need to look at this video afterwards. Maybe I'll learn something new.
In this video, I'm going to focus more about the creative side of our editing process, but we recently made a video all about our workflow, and in there we do touch on some of our practical advice when it comes to editing. So check that out if you are interested. Obviously here at our company, we are often multiple people working together in the editing phase, so this is definitely something that affects the way that I edit a lot. So the video I'm going to use as an example today is this commercial we made for a company called Seaweed Solutions, and then I'm going to break everything down.
Our seaweed grows through the cold winter in pristine subarctic waters. It only needs sunlight and seawater to grow, making the cultivation clean and responsible. By controlling the whole value chain, from seed to processed seaweed, we ensure the highest quality product.
My first tip is to get as much information as possible before you start. Whether you're working with a client or just with a director, it's really important that you're both on the same page and you both have the same expectations of what the outcome is going to be. And this is going to save you a lot of hassle as an editor, and it's just going to make sure that you avoid any misunderstandings down the line. There are specifically 4 things that I really think you should know before you start editing. The first is what's the approximate length of the video, what's the platform for the video, who is the target audience, and what is the purpose of the video. So when I do my selects, if I know it's just going to be a 1-minute video, I'm not going to select a 30-second clip. If it's going to be on social media, you have to edit a bit differently. You have to capture and retain people's attention much more aggressively. Does the company want to attract new customers, or do they want to communicate more to existing customers? Age, gender, profession also comes into play here. Lastly, all of these things are going to say something about the purpose of the video. And this is something I try to come back to if I ever feel stuck when I'm editing. And I try to let this determine the choices that I make. And also remember that these things can be applied to fictional films and documentaries as well. So this commercial we have here is for a company called Seaweed Solutions. They work with seaweed. So the task here is to kind of show the whole process of what they do. So for this particular project, the facts that I knew is that the video should be between 1 and 3 minutes long. The platform will be the company's website and their social media. The target audience will be people who don't know who Seaweed Solutions is. And the purpose of the video is to establish Seaweed Solutions as a brand and give some insight into what they do. So with all this out of the way, let's begin. Using shortcuts is essential as an editor, and it's just gonna save you so much time. And how you choose to set this up is of course up to you, but here are some of the shortcuts that I use on a daily basis and that I think are the most essential. So the first up is QWE. So Q is the start to playhead, which is gonna trim the clip into the beginning of your playhead. W is gonna split your clip wherever you have your playhead. And then E is end to playhead. Next up we have mark all. I have mine set to A. Next up we have trim mode, which allows you to change the timing within your clip. Next up we have ripple delete. I have mine set to T. We have delete gaps. I have mine set to Alt D. Lastly, we have move clips up or down on the tracks. I have mine set to Control, arrow up and down. Of course, there are many other shortcuts that we use, but these are just some of the ones that really save me a lot of time. We have also recently started to use Torbox for our editing, and it's something that we have been really enjoying, and it's making our editing a bit more efficient and streamlined. We talk a bit more about this in our workflow video, so check that out if you're interested to learn more. So there are so many ways to do your selects. There is no right or wrong way. You just kind of have to figure out what works the best for you and makes the most sense for your projects. But for us, we mostly make kind of short form videos, and after 5 years, this is generally the way that we like to do it and the process that we do for most of our projects. First off, here we have one of my select timelines for this project. Usually I'll go in and just remove the most unusable parts, but other than that, I like to keep just about everything. And then I will color code. The reason for this is that if you do have to go back and maybe there's some footage that you have overlooked, or if someone else is going to take over the edit at some point, it's a lot easier for them to go through and just see like, okay, everything that's in this green color is drone shots. And secondly, we have this nice editing room here at VJUS. So sometimes we will sit here with the client in real time going through the edit. You're a little bit stressed, you know, you want to give a good impression to the client and stuff. So that way, when you can just easily just like, okay, boom, I got it here. Leaves a better impression. I color code the clips that I think are the best into different colors based on whether they are drone shots, underwater shots, factory shots, transportation, or laboratory. The moment when I'm done with my selects and I have to start on my first draft is very often the worst for me. Usually I get really overwhelmed and I'm just so paralyzed by all the decisions that I have to make, and I just don't know where to start. So this brings us to the next chapter, the rough draft. My advice to you is to, first of all, just choose a direction and just commit to that, at least in the beginning. You don't have to make good decisions. You just have to start making some decisions. Just take some of the pressure off, because when you just start putting it together, you're quickly gonna see what works and what doesn't. And it's gonna be a lot easier to kind of go from there. So my next tip is to work non-linearly. This is very much personal preference, but I often think that the intro and the beginning of the video is often the most difficult. Therefore, I love to just jump around in the edit, and then when I feel like I kind of have a shape here, I will jump to a different part of the video, and I will kind of do this until I have some bigger puzzle pieces that I can then start putting together. Luckily, we did have a voiceover script early on, so I could kind of use this to guide me a little bit when I was putting together my first draft. Also, a good tip if you have the voiceover script but you don't have the actual voiceover yet, you can try and use an AI voice to just read in the script so that you can actually put it into your timeline. This way you can actually start to set the pacing and the tempo for your footage. And this is actually something that we did for this video as well.
By controlling the whole value chain, from seed to processed seaweed, we ensure a high-quality product.
Making sure your edit is dynamic is definitely a very helpful tip and something that I do a lot. Sometimes I will look at a draft and it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't flow right. It just feels uninteresting. And sometimes when I take a step back and I look at the timeline, I can actually see that almost all of the clips are the exact same length. And it doesn't matter if it's fast-paced or if it's really slow. If every single clip is the exact same length, you kind of fall into this rhythm. You kind of feel like nothing is really happening. A very practical solution to this is to switch up the tempo a little bit more. You have to slow down in order to speed up. So as you can see here, this is just the first draft, but there's a long portion of very similar length. So it's something to consider maybe shaping up a little bit more. And of course, dynamic editing isn't just the editing itself, it's also the music and the sound effects. And I think for this project especially, that's like a good example of how it just ties everything together and I think elevates it a lot more.
By controlling the whole value chain, from seed processed seaweed, we ensure the highest quality product.
One tip is being able to combine entertainment, but also exposition. Because sometimes you have to show, but you also have to tell. When you're watching a movie, you don't want to be listening to one of the characters explaining the plot to you or giving you information. You want to be entertained. And everybody talks about show, don't tell, for this exact reason. But sometimes you also have to tell, right? So the trick here is to weave the exposition and entertainment together and give the audience the context and the information that they need while they are entertained. Here's an example of how we did that in the Resolve mini documentary that we made.
So I was sitting in the office editing an early winter morning. I was thinking, are there better ways to do this? Can we be more efficient? And you know, on YouTube and stuff, everybody's raving about DaVinci Resolve and how great it is. And I thought, could this be something for us? Could our team switch to DaVinci Resolve? I had made up my mind. I was gonna make this happen. But I needed a plan, and I needed a partner in crime.
Another twist to this is to make sure that you hook the audience with more visual shots that give a more emotional understanding of the topic, and then you can start feeding them with the information. And this is something that we did in the very beginning of the seaweed video.
Surrounded by the sea. For centuries, this has been our way of life. The conditions here are rough. But along the Norwegian coast, off the island of Frøya, lies hidden opportunities.
I think if we were to jump right into what they do, how they grow the seaweed, what you can use it for, and so on, it would kind of lose the audience a little bit. But by creating a bit more intrigue, a bit more mystery in the beginning, you get more engaged and you want to know what is hidden beneath the surface, and it gives you more questions that you want answered, and that's why you keep watching the video. If you want to learn more about this topic, I really recommend these two videos. A quick tip is to pay attention to the blinking. This is especially relevant in fiction work, but this can be applied to any kind of video really. If you see that the personal screen is blinking either right before, in the middle, or right after a cut, this can make your edit much less smooth and it won't flow as well. Consider either extending the clip or cutting right before the person starts blinking, and this can help you a lot. Also, especially if you want to build tension and drama in a scene, the blinking is really important. If the character is constantly blinking, it can make them seem more insecure maybe, and it can kind of say something about the character or the situation they're in. But if a character just keeps staring down the camera while they're talking and they're never breaking the eye contact, it can make it feel much more intense. My eyes start hurting from that. Fix it in post is a very common phrase in filmmaking, and usually you don't actually want to fix it in post if you are able to do it in camera, but sometimes you have to. And actually with the blinking, I know that in a lot of feature films they will actually VFX out the blinking from a scene if they're not able to cut it. And we actually ended up using VFX in this commercial as well. We really wanted a shot of the camera going from above water and then underwater, but we didn't have a clean shot above water without anything in the background. All we had was this shot with this boat. Morten actually went in and removed the boat so that we could have this shot in the end. So here are some other useful tips that I think are just good to know in general when you're editing.
Very often I like to just add some of the music, even add some sound effects, like really early on, just to get in the mood and get excited about the project. So that's one way I like to do it. In the previous video we made about making a commercial in one day using stock footage and stuff, there I show that we just add things quite early on in the process to get a touch of the story and emotions. Sometimes just try to add totally different music, or even just rotate some of the shots, and suddenly like just one change can open up the whole, like you can get, now I know how to do the whole thing. And of course, breaks, having breaks. Like if you're stuck, have a 30 minutes walk, because you're gonna get blind with your footage.
Yeah.
And very often you edit late at night, you think it's so good, then you wake up and it's horrible.
When I'm done with my selects, if I can, I like to wait until the next day to start on the rough edit.
You're a human, not a robot.
So then we had our first draft ready. We didn't have the final voice yet, so Morten, our CEO and the director for this project, just recorded a placeholder voice. So here you can see the very first draft that we made.
Surrounded by the sea. For centuries, this has been our way of life. The conditions here are rough, but along the Norwegian coast of the island of Frøya lies hidden opportunities. Our seaweed grows through the cold winter in pristine subarctic waters. It only needs sunlight and seawater to grow, making the cultivation clean and responsible by improving ocean quality and absorbing CO2. By controlling the whole value chain, from seed to processed seaweed, we ensure a high-quality product. Our seaweeds add salty and umami flavor to a variety of dishes, from plant-based burgers to salads and snacks. In addition to food, we are always researching new ways to utilize this resource. Already, seaweed can be used for numerous applications, including animal feed, fertilizer, and bioplastics. Welcome to a new era. An era where we play by nature's rules. We believe seaweed is the biomass of the future, an eco-friendly crop with a variety of uses. For the future, for the ocean, for the planet.
So this draft is not too far off the final video, but there's still things that need to be changed. Kind of hit most of the points that the clients wanted to, but it's a little disjointed. It could make a bit more sense. The first thing that we wanted to change is the music. First music that I chose was a little bit too monotone, a bit boring. And we wanted something that could be a bit more dynamic. The second thing is he wanted to add some more shots of the transportation of the seaweed and also shots from inside of the factory. And of course, some shots were taken out, like some of this red shots were taken out, which I thought was a shame. I quite like them. Of course, kill your darlings is a very common phrase while editing, and you can't include everything. You just can't. And then I think in general, we just kind of worked on streamlining the video a little bit more and making the process of the seaweed a bit clearer. For example, I think here in the first draft, I jumped into this shot of the baby seaweed that has kind of just been planted. It's not in the correct place of the process, if that makes sense. We have just seen the seaweed being taken out of the water. But if you do have a hard time in this part of the process, the kind of feedback, refining the edit, I love to just go back to these 4 questions. And sometimes you will kind of realize that, like, okay, this shot is actually not serving the purpose of this video. And also go back to your selects. That is something that I really enjoy doing, because when you're working on an edit and you're getting further along in the process, you forget what footage you actually have. And again, that's why I love color coding, because sometimes you'll discover clips that you just totally forgotten about, and you're just like, oh, this fits perfectly in this one section where I'm having trouble making it flow. You might be surprised sometimes the kind of clips that you discover that will end up kind of helping your edits move along. And then you basically just repeat this feedback process until you're done. So we just kept going back and forth, tweaking the clips, the timing, the sound effects, of course, was like a huge part of this project. So here you can see the final result.
surrounded by the sea. For centuries, this has been our way of life. The conditions here are rough. But along the Norwegian coast, off the island of Frøya, lies hidden opportunities. Our seaweed grows through the cold winter in pristine subarctic waters. It only needs sunlight and seawater to grow, making the cultivation clean and responsible. By controlling the whole value chain, from seed to processed seaweed, we ensure the highest quality product. Our seaweed adds salty and umami flavor to a variety of dishes, from plant-based burgers to salads and snacks. In addition to food, we are always researching new ways to utilize this resource. Already, seaweed can be used for numerous applications, including animal feed, fertilizer, and bioplastics. Welcome to a new era. An era where we play by nature's rules. We believe seaweed is the biomass of the future. An eco-friendly crop with a variety of uses. For the ocean, for the planet, for the future.
So these were my best tips and advice when it comes to editing. I really hope you guys learned something new, and if there's anything else that we didn't answer in this video, please let me know in the comments below and we can answer it in a future video. And thank you guys so much for watching all the way till the end. Bye bye!